Hi, thanks for stopping by and checking out our simulator. I'll give you a quick walkthrough of how to use it. Here we go. Let's start with the entities. The source is just an entity that creates data to be pushed throughout the system. A queue is an entity that receives that data and pushes it out based on a first come, first served basis. A function is just an entity that applies an operation to user-defined object. A sink is an entity that receives all the data pushed throughout the system. Splitter is an entity that takes in a data path and diverts the flow based on some user input. Thermometer is something that reads statistics of the data flowing through the system, but does nothing to alter it. A reverser is something we can use in something like a feedback loop that helps us redirect the data flow back to a previous entity. A cloner receives data that passes through it and sends each clone on a different path. A stack is just like a queue, except that the priority order is first in, last out. Next, let's discuss UDOs, user-defined objects. To add a UDO, all we have to do is go here, press apply to the fields we want to add. We want to add a float, boolean, int, those are the values we have. And we toggle to use UDO. Now you can see some of the entities are going to be changed. For instance, now the spawn distribution and the function for the field are parameters that are now available to us in source, as well as queue. The function parameter here, we can now choose how to increment the field by 1. And the splitter allows us to discriminate path flow based on fields as well. Now let's talk about the rest of the buttons. At the top, you can clear the simulation by pressing this button. You can import JSON by pressing this button. Export the current map layout of our simulation by pressing this button, or choose to download it. And in the case that we've run a simulation, we can download the data. Also, in the case that we run a simulation, we can graph the data. And we can also choose time parameters here based on seconds, hours, minutes. Let's tie it all together by loading an example. All entities. Press simulate, and you can see the data paths here represented by traffic as to how much flow each one of these entities is pushing or receiving. You can also graph the data based on a field and an entity. You can also see some of the statistics from the data being pushed through the system by hovering over a few of the entities. And in case you need more detail, you can always download the data. You can also download the JSON if you want to save this current project. And in the case that you want to modify some of the existing parameters, you can always do so and press simulate again. And as you can see, the data being pushed through the system is different now. So thank you for using BlueSim. I hope it helps with your next simulation project.